What you do in secret is who you really are, not what you post, not what you say, not how you look when the lights are on, but the habits you keep when no one is clapping. That is your foundation. That's the version of you your future is watching. Comment "I show up in silence" if you know success is built when no one is looking. This is the brutal truth. The world doesn't care about your plan. It rewards your patterns. You don't get to the top by talking about it. You get there by grinding in silence, by choosing consistency over applause, by showing up even when no one's checking in. When no one's watching, you find out if you're serious, because there's no praise, no spotlight, just you, the work, and the voice in your head begging you to take it easy. And if you listen to that voice, you lose everything. Success has a pattern, and it starts in the dark, the early mornings, the late nights, the missed parties, the hard choices. That's where it's born, not in the moment of glory, but in the moments you think don't matter. What you do when no one is watching is the seed. The harvest comes later, but only if you stayed faithful in the silence. Most people want results without the routine. They want credit without commitment. That's why they never grow. But not you. You're here because you're tired of fake effort. You're done with surface-level hustle. You're ready to dominate behind the scenes. So when your time comes, there's no doubt it was earned. Everyone's a hard worker in their Instagram bio. Everyone's on the grind when someone's looking. But when the cameras are off, that's when most people fold. That's when comfort wins. That's when potential dies quietly. You want to separate yourself? Then master the art of showing up when no one's keeping score. That's where true discipline lives. Not in the hype, but in the silence. In the space where only you and your decision-making exist. The future doesn't respond to noise. It responds to patterns. You think it's about intensity, but it's about consistency. Day after day, small wins stacked in secret. No applause, no trophy, just truth. Stop waiting to be seen. You don't need a witness. You need a reason so strong that it moves you in the dark. A reason that gets you up when nobody will know if you stayed in bed. Winners train without claps. They rehearse without praise. They master the boring things until they become automatic. That's what makes them dangerous. They've already bled in silence, so they don't fold in public. Ask yourself this. Who are you when the room is empty? That answer will tell you everything about how far you're really going. You don't rise by being seen. You rise by being prepared, and preparation happens in the shadows, not under the spotlight. The work you do alone is what earns you the right to be recognized. Every rep in silence counts. Every decision to stay disciplined when nobody's around, it compounds. You don't see the return immediately, but that's the test. Can you stay loyal to a routine when there's no reward in sight? Stop confusing visibility with value. Just because no one sees your grind doesn't mean it's not working. Some of your greatest growth will happen where no one claps, because greatness doesn't need permission, it needs commitment. The reason most people fail, they need feedback to stay focused. They need praise to keep going. You can't afford that. You have to be your own accountability, your own fire, your own momentum in the dark. There are no shortcuts to excellence, just silent choices made over and over again. And when the results come, they won't be a surprise. They'll be confirmation because you already paid for them in private. The truth is simple. If you can win the invisible battles, you can dominate anything in public. But first, prove it when no one's watching. You don't become unstoppable by announcing your every move. You become unstoppable by moving whether anyone sees it or not. The grind isn't glamorous. That's why it works. Because most people can't stay with it when it gets quiet. The mirror knows. The pillow knows. The calendar knows. Every skipped rep. Every excuse. Every compromise when you think no one will notice, you notice. And that's what eats people alive. Not failure, but knowing they could have done more when it mattered. There's a version of you watching you, the future you, the one who's already accomplished it all, and every decision you make in private either builds that version or betrays it. Every choice counts, even the small ones. Stop performing. Start building. People who are addicted to being seen rarely become great. Why? Because they're too busy chasing applause to build character. And character is what carries you when motivation dies. You have to decide if you want to be impressive for a moment or impactful for a lifetime. If you want the second one, then understand this. The work no one sees is always the most important. Greatness doesn't scream. It whispers. It whispers. Get up. It whispers. Do it again. And if you're quiet enough, focused enough, disciplined enough, you'll hear it. The grind isn't supposed to feel exciting. It's supposed to feel repetitive. That's how you know you're on the right path. If it's too comfortable, too easy, too fun, you're probably not growing. Anyone can put in effort when it's new. Anyone can push hard for a week, but the future doesn't care about your excitement. It only respects your endurance. What you do when it's boring is where the real war is won. The secret to elite performance, it's not talent, it's not motivation. It's discipline in isolation. The willingness to do the right thing on the days it feels pointless, because deep down you know it's not. There's a reason the top 1% are the top 1%. They learned how to be consistent in silence. They show up when it's cold, when it's lonely, when the goal still feels far, because they know something you forgot. Faith is doing it anyway. You want confidence? Then earn it in the dark. Earn it when no one's watching. That's when belief is built, not when they cheer, not when they notice, but when you show up again and again with zero applause. The real you is exposed when there's no pressure, no audience, and no reward. And if you can conquer that version of you, the public one won't be a challenge. It'll be inevitable. There's no shortcut to greatness, just a long road walked alone. And every time you take another silent step forward, you're proving something to yourself, not to them, to you, that you are trustworthy, that you are consistent, that you are built for this. Most people break because they rely on attention to survive. If no one's watching, they stop. If no one's cheering, they quit. You want to be different? Then stop needing noise. Let silence sharpen you. Champions are built when nobody's looking. Legends are formed in rooms where no one's watching. Why? Because the absence of applause forces you to focus. There's no ego there, just work, just process, just growth. When it's just you and the grind, you can't lie. The reps don't lie. The page doesn't lie. The schedule doesn't lie. Either you're doing the work or you're not. And if you are, then the future already has your name written on it. This is where most people fall off. The middle, not the start, not the end, but the long stretch of invisible progress. The part where it feels like nothing's changing, but everything is. You just haven't earned the results yet. Keep going, keep pushing, keep building, because when your moment comes, you'll know it was the silent days that made you strong enough to handle the loud ones. You've got to stop needing reminders. The elite don't need to be told to show up. They just do. No alarm clock, no audience, no emotional high, just vision, just discipline, just obsession with who they're becoming. You think your future self is going to thank you for rest days you didn't need, for skipped workouts, for the easy route. No, they'll thank you for the hours you suffered alone, the mornings you didn't want to move, but moved anyway. Most people train for performance. You must train for identity. You're not just building skills. You're building someone. A person who doesn't fold when life goes silent. A person who is lethal with or without a stage. That's the quiet power no one talks about, being so consistent in private that your public life can't help but catch up. You don't chase success. You corner it with your routine. You trap it with your habits. You don't rise by accident. You rise by design. And every late night session, every quiet grind, every lonely morning, that's the blueprint. That's the price most people won't pay. But if you do, you'll own what they only dream about. So the question isn't, are you motivated? The question is, can you be trusted in the dark? Your breakthrough isn't coming because you're talented. It's coming because you didn't stop. Because when no one believed, no one texted, no one noticed, you still showed up. That's what makes you dangerous. The world sees success as a spark. But it's not. It's a slow burn, built from every decision you made when no one clapped. Every time you chose discipline over comfort, That's the real source of power. Quiet consistency. You don't need hype. You don't need validation. You need a standard, a code, a mindset that says, whether they notice or not, I'm doing it because your dream isn't waiting for applause. It's waiting for alignment. Your name is already written on the opportunity, but you don't get the key by being loud. You get it by proving in the quiet that you're ready, that you've built the strength to carry it. Let other people waste their time looking busy online. You move different. You're not chasing visibility. You're building volume, quiet, ruthless volume, and eventually the silence will turn into a sound they can't ignore. They'll say you came out of nowhere, but you didn't. You came from the shadows, from the mornings they skipped, from the hours they wasted, from the silence they couldn't stand, and you turned it into fire. The ones who win long-term don't rely on motivation. They rely on routine, because motivation is loud, but routine is loyal. It sticks with you when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when it feels like no progress is happening at all. Every time you repeat the habit, even when it's boring, even when it's silent, you build proof, and that proof becomes confidence. Not fake confidence, earned confidence. The kind that walks into any room without saying a word. There is a version of you that's already successful, but that version was built in isolation. It was sculpted through repetition, through saying no to distractions and yes to discipline, again and again and again. You have to choose who you want to impress, the crowd or the future. The crowd needs noise. The future needs results. You can't serve both. One leads to applause. The other leads to legacy. And legacy is built when you stay loyal to the process, not just the outcome. When you train like your name depends on it, because it does. When you stop negotiating with excuses and start executing like your life is on the line. This is what separates contenders from pretenders, who they are when no one checks in. When the door is closed, when it's just them and the work. And if you can master that moment, you can master everything. You don't get to rewrite your future by staying comfortable in the present. Every time you choose the easy route when no one's watching, you vote against your own potential. Every skipped rip, every delayed decision, it adds up. But so does every small win, every ignored distraction, every quiet morning where you show up with zero applause and 100% focus. Those are the moments that compound into power. That's how success is secretly built. You think your future is waiting on the big moment? It's not. It's waiting on your consistency, the kind that doesn't flinch when the mood dips, the kind that trains when no one is watching and pushes when no one is cheering. The real prize is hidden behind habits, not hype. Your private discipline will always predict your public dominance. You don't rise when they clap. You rise because you were already moving before they even looked your way. You've got to get obsessed with the process. Not because it's exciting, but because it's all you've got. The process is your protector. It shields you from chaos. It gives you power when everything else fades. The truth? If you're not obsessed with the work you're doing behind the scenes, you'll never survive the spotlight when it finally hits you. The people who seem to blow up overnight, they didn't. They were grinding in silence, bleeding in silence, growing in silence. And when their moment came, they were ready, because the dark had already trained them. You don't want quick fame. You want deep roots. And deep roots are grown in silence, in the hours no one claps for, the work no one sees, and the decisions no one praises. That's where the real you is born. Your private habits are either building your future or bankrupting it. There's no neutral. Every time you skip the discipline, you're handing your dream over to someone more consistent. Every excuse funds someone else's success. So stop hiding behind emotion. You don't need to feel ready. You need to act ready. Readiness is a choice. And when you choose to show up, even in silence, you shift into a different frequency, a higher one where results live. You want to be elite? Then do what the average won't. Stay locked in when it's inconvenient. Stay consistent when it's quiet. Stay focused when no one's holding you accountable. That's where champions are made. The difference between the dreamers and the doers is simple: what they do when no one's looking. That moment defines them. That silence separates them. If the only time you move is when someone's watching, you're not disciplined, you're performing, and performance fades. Discipline remains. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't need reward. It needs one thing: commitment. Every time you show up in silence, you're telling your future, I'm serious. You're not just hoping anymore. You're aligning, you're preparing, you're proving without words that you're the one who deserves what's coming. Some of your greatest strength will be built when no one texts back, when no one notices, when your name isn't being mentioned. Can you still grind then? That's the test. That's the filter. Most fail it. But you're still here. You're still standing. You're still moving through the fog, through the silence, through the unknown. And that's why you will win. Because while others wait for momentum, you create it. You have to fall in love with being misunderstood, with being unseen, with being the ghost in the room who's quietly becoming a legend. Because those who are loud in silence, they roar when it's time. Never forget what you build in private is what the world will experience in public. So don't fake it, forge it. Most people are addicted to being seen. They crave recognition more than results. That's why they never evolve, because their growth is performance-based, not purpose-based. But not you. You don't need the spotlight. You are the fire, and fire doesn't ask to be seen. It burns anyway. Your intensity is quiet. Your power is personal. And that's exactly why it's unstoppable. You've been hidden for a reason. Not because you're being punished, but because you're being prepared. Isolation sharpens what exposure would weaken. Silence molds what applause would dilute. Every day you train without attention, you gain an edge. Every hour you choose the work over the noise, you widen the gap. You don't need to catch up, they need to keep up, because you're not slowing down for anyone. This is a long game, and the long game belongs to the ones who don't break when no one's watching. To the ones who know the mountain doesn't care who's watching the climb. It only rewards the one who keeps going. So remember this. Your silence isn't emptiness. It's evidence that you're not waiting to be seen. You're preparing to be undeniable. Every silent day you show up, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming, not the person you hope to be, the one you're building through repetition, grit, and inner alignment. The world claps for outcomes, but it ignores the process. That's why it's not your job to prove. It's your job to prepare. Let others chase attention. You chase execution, because execution is louder than applause. When you stop needing to be seen, you unlock a different gear, a darker, deeper level of focus. One where it's just you and the work, no praise, no feedback, just discipline stacking day by day until your life looks like something nobody can explain. You won't be able to point to one big moment, because the transformation came from 1,000 small ones, all made in silence. That's what makes it powerful. That's what makes it permanent. There's peace in the quiet grind. You don't owe the world an explanation for your absence. You're not missing. You're maturing. You're not failing. You're forging. The future isn't late. You're just early. So when it feels like no one's watching, remember this: you're not invisible. You're becoming invaluable. This is the truth you can't ignore. Your future is not built in front of people. It's built in the dark, in silence, in repetition, in those lonely hours when no one's cheering and you still choose to show up. You don't rise by being watched. You rise by being consistent. Every private win stacks. Every quiet yes to discipline builds weight until one day the world feels your presence but has no idea how you got there. That's the beauty of it. Let them be confused. Let them ask where you came from. You don't owe them an origin story, only results, because you didn't post the pain. You didn't broadcast the climb. You just became. The next level doesn't belong to the loud. It belongs to the prepared. And you prepared in silence. You trained when it hurt. You moved without eyes on you. And now you're ready for anything. If you can stay consistent when no one's watching, you've already won, because the world has no choice but to catch up to someone who doesn't stop. If you've made it this far, drop in the comments. It means you've unlocked the mindset. The rest of the world is too loud to hear.